Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey everyone, I'm Avalaura Gaither, your life coach, intuitive consultant, keynote speaker, and holistic mental health expert.
Awesome. And you've got a story to share with us today. Where in this world does that story begin?
Yeah, I absolutely do. So I am here in the DMV as we call it. That's the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. And this started in Maryland, actually. After I graduated from Howard University for the second time, I got my master's degree and I was working as a social worker. I got my master's degree in social work and I was really excited. I was one of those people that thought that I was just going to save the world. Like I'm just totally idealistic, going into mental health for all the right reasons, not because I had my own mental health issues, but really because I wanted to help people. And I thought for some reason I could. After I got into the social work field, I was a program director at an outpatient mental health clinic in Greenbelt, Maryland. And I quickly found out that this was not the work that I wanted to do with my life. I did not feel like I could really make a difference. I saw how really dysfunctional the mental health system is, and it just seemed like instead of helping people to heal, we were really just helping people to maintain their dysfunctions. We were passing out meds, we were doing maximum billing that we could with Medicaid and insurance companies, and it was just, there were so many things that I was learning at the time about myself and about healing and about being a healer, and I could do none of those things. But I was at this point where even though I was feeling like I hate this, I don't want to do this anymore, this is not for me, I got my master's degree, this is the trajectory that I'm on, right? This is what I'm supposed to be doing with my life. I got this quote unquote great job. So I didn't know what to do. It was like, here I am, I'm helping all these people, I'm helping my clients. I have staff that I'm managing, but I don't even know how to help myself. Where do I go for help? Who heals the healer, really? Which is what was really going on. And so I really stayed like that for a while. Like, I wish I could say like some amazing thing happened, but I stayed in that position for a while, and I just got sick and tired of being sick and tired. That's really what happened. I just got to that breaking point where I really couldn't take it anymore, and I ended up confiding in a friend. And, she was a colleague and she said, Ava Laura, she said, I'm having this women's retreat. Why don't you come on out? I think it's exactly what you need. And that might sound, good now, but honestly, at the time, like women's retreats were not popular. I had actually never heard of a women's retreat. So I was like, what is this? Are we going to be doing some like kumbaya kind of thing? I don't know what this is. It was like, outside of DC in nature. And I was like, I don't know about that. I'm not really sure what this is all about. But honestly, if this woman had said, Ava Laura, let's go bungee jumping, I would have done it. Like I was just at that point in my life where I just needed help. So I went on the women's retreat, and it honestly ended up being one of the best things that I had done. I got back to soulful self-care, as I call it now, just reconnecting with myself. I think anytime we're going through a hard time, we don't even pay attention to what's going on in our lives. It was like I was just in survival mode. I was literally just, let me go to work, go home, sleep, go back to work, go home. And I was just sort of in that space. So I wasn't really paying attention to what was going on in my life. And when I got to this retreat, I realized like I wasn't happy. I wasn't smiling anymore. I wasn't laughing. Like I'm a person, I literally laugh every day, even about stuff I have no business laughing at. And I was just losing myself. I had gained weight. So many things had happened, and I didn't realize it until I got to this retreat and I was spending time with these women, and I was just spending time outside in nature and just kind of reconnecting. And I just got really sad. I got really sad and really emotional because I realized how much I had lost and how much I was suffering, and I didn't know what to do about it. And at one point, I literally just found myself on my hands and knees crying out to God. And I was just like, you got to get me out of here. I can't do this anymore. I can't live like this. I know this is what I worked for, but this is not what I envisioned for my life. And I know you did not put me here just to suffer. It's like literally just kind of laying it all out, and crying. I mean, like doing the ugly cry, like just all of it came out. And I felt really good. I felt better. Like, anytime you cry and you finally release your emotions that you've been holding in for however knows how long, you feel so good. But then the reality hit that I still had to go back to work on Monday. And so, even though in this moment I felt better, even though I had a realization, I had that aha, I was still stuck in this life of like, I do not love my life anymore. I don't like what's going on and I don't know what to do about it. I did what I was supposed to do, right? I went back to work because I was a responsible adult and I had patients and clients and all the things, and that's what I had to do. So I went back to work. And, it was business as usual, serving my clients, working with, my employees, doing all the things that I was supposed to do. And my boss calls me into his office, and he sits me down and he has this envelope. And he takes the envelope and he slides it across the table. And he says, Avalaura, you're an amazing person. It's been wonderful having you, but I gotta let you go. Exactly. And I was like, wait, what? Run that back. What did he just say? Now, to put this into perspective, I seriously overachiever, perfectionist, like, graduated magna cum laude. I had never been fired from anything. If I do something, I am, 200% committed. So I was shocked that this man was firing. There was no, nothing telling me at any point that this was going to happen. I had never been written up for anything, no complaints, nothing. It was just like out of the blue. And so my ego was literally having a fit. How can this man do this to me? Does he know who I am? I run this place. Ego was just going on. And my spirit is just like, Ava Laura, this is what you prayed for. You asked for this. So what are you going to do about it? And I had to sit with myself. Wow, yeah, what am I going to do about this? Like, okay, I got fired. I hated the job. I didn't want to be there anyway. So now what do I do? Do I just go put my resume back out there, get another job? And if anybody knows social work, particularly here in the DC area, it's very easy to get a job. There's lots of social work opportunities. You may not want them, but there are lots of social work opportunities. And so, am I just going to go and get another job, or am I going to venture into the path of the unknown and just, find myself, do what I know that I'm created to do, even though right now I don't really know what that is. I just know it's not this. And I did that. I literally ventured into the path of the unknown, so to speak. And I did something that I tell all my clients that I think is so incredibly important. I took what I call my 6-month healing sabbatical. And it's funny because I remember Beyonce saying something about that, like when she had her children, she did this. And people were like, oh my God, how do you do that? Well, I did this almost 20 years ago now, where I literally took 6 months and I worked on myself. I got counseling. That's when I started to study to become a life coach. That's when I became a Reiki master teacher, studied hypnotherapy, aromatherapy. I literally studied all the healing arts, anything that I could get my hands on, and really learned what it meant to be a healer from a holistic perspective, and understanding that, we are multidimensional beings, and talk therapy just is not enough. That is not how people truly can heal. That didn't work for me. It didn't work for a lot of people. I saw the holes in the system. And so really trying to learn all of these different systems and healing modalities to see, like, what does this thing called healing look like, and how can I really best serve people? So I did all of that for 6 months. And at the end of that 6 months, I opened up my business, and that was in November of 2005. So we're talking about almost 20 years ago. And it's just been a beautiful journey, because really I wanted to help people like me who needed help but didn't know what kind of help they needed. And they're so high strung, and quote unquote, when you're so educated, right, and intelligent, it's difficult sometimes, right, to find the things that you really need, because you kind of feel like you know it all, even though you don't. And so I started to work with those people, and it's just been a beautiful journey, of being that guide that really I needed, that couldn't find at that time when I was really struggling in my life.
There's a story on my YouTube channel about going up to the mountains and praying to God all day. And I got no answers on the top of that mountain. I got nothing. I ended up, I was Mormon at the time, and it was very much like, I'm done. I'm not going to be doing this anymore with you. I gave you my whole life. I went on a mission and got married in the temple, did all the weird hand signs and wore the weird underwear and all that stuff. And I came down from that mountain a Mormon no longer. And that my relationship with God disappeared. I
Wow.
was like, peace. I don't need you,
Yeah.
obviously. Bye.
Yep.
And that was in 2019. And it's interesting, like, really in the past year since I've been interviewing all these beautiful people like yourself on the podcast, everybody's got a different word for it. God is really convenient. It for the longest time it was this like Israeli looking white man in the sky with long hair, you know what I mean? The one that was it was this Jesus God. And that as I go back and I listen to what Jesus actually had to say about the whole thing that was going on, it's clear to me that he wasn't talking about some man in the sky. He was talking about
Hmm.
this groovy, ethereal reality that we're a part of that interacts with you in these mystical and magical ways. And so I've come to this kind of circular path in the road where I have been recently, I haven't said this on the podcast before. I have been recently praying, if you can call it that, but I don't. In the Mormon faith, it's Dear Heavenly Father, right? We thank you for this day, and for you talk about what you're thankful for, and then you ask for things, you bless the food, whatever. In the name of
Hmm.
Jesus Christ, Amen. It's a Mormon prayer
Hmm.
for anybody that didn't know out
Hmm.
there in the world. And I just like I
You
can't.
didn't
I
rest.
God, it doesn't resonate with me at
Yeah.
all. And the beautiful thing about religion and dogma is that it creates these systems and structure that help you increase faith. So it
Yeah.
does serve a purpose, but you have to
Yeah.
believe that the prayer is actually working. And when you have this like process that you are supposed to follow, then
Hmm.
you feel like it's working more. So, anyways, so I don't know how to pray with faith anymore.
Mm.
And so it's been mostly this re-exploration of like, this is really hard. And like, if there's something out there and in there that I'm supposed to be receiving or understanding, please help me receive or understand it. I give it to you. And it actually was Julie Hutchinson, one of our other guests on the podcast.
Hmm.
She was an atheist forever
Wow.
and came to Jesus, actually became a Christian
Wow.
in the last 3 years. And her the process of giving it away
Yeah.
to something, to
Yeah.
it, is
Yeah.
what I'm trying to crack right now, because life gets stressful and business is up and down, and the path of the entrepreneur is a wily one, to be sure. And so I am curious how you are able to commune. What is your system of downloading from this universal magic energy? Are you man in the sky, God, Jesus person that you're praying to,
No.
like a guy that's up in the clouds?
Well,
Or
no.
tell me about that relationship and how you're able to access that, and I don't want to say use it to your benefit, but like,
Yeah.
it's not like a lever that you're pushing. It's like a surrender that you have to
Absolutely.
fall into.
It's
Tell
very
me about
much a
how you do that.
surrender. First, let me say it's changed over the years, right? So that's going to happen. I think for anyone who really wants to be better and wants to do better, it should change, right? It should not be the same as it was 3 years old, 5 years old, 10 years old. Because whatever system we grew up with was given to us, right? We didn't choose it for ourselves. I think it's important as individuals that we choose it for ourselves. Even if it ends up being the same system that you were raised in, at least you choose it as an adult. You don't just follow it because that's what somebody told you to do. And so I got stories. I have a whole, I went to India. I studied yoga in India. So, I had a whole path of where I am now. And where I am now is not where I was 20 years ago. So
What
let
what
me
do
say
you
that.
what
So
this is an unfair sub question, but like, what do you consider yourself? Do you align with some
yeah,
religious?
so
Yeah.
right now, and for the last 15 or so years or so, I'm Muslim. And Muslim really just means that you're a believer in God. It really just means that you're submitting your beliefs in God, however you define God. That's the thing. Like, God can be, it's however you define it. I don't define God as a person or an entity. I think God more of an energy, a spirit, that has the power and ability to do whatever. And for me, I've always been a manifester. And I really believe that's a God given ability. Some people can do that very easily. I teach some people, it is extremely difficult. So it's easy for me to surrender to that energy of, I know I need something. This is not it. I may not be aware of what that is, but I trust you to put me in the situation, circumstance where I will get what I need. And that has always worked for me. So it's easier for me to believe in that and have faith in it because I've always had that relationship, that understanding where a lot of people haven't. And so it can be very challenging, right? Well, I asked for that before and it never happened. But one of the things that I've learned is that I got fired. I never anticipated getting fired from my job. I just wanted to be happier. Right? And so one of the things that I've learned is that a lot of times our prayers are answered in ways that we don't anticipate. And because of that, we don't see it as an answered prayer. We just see it as, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening in my life. I totally could have seen this as the worst thing that ever happened to me, where really I looked at it and it took me a minute, but I looked at it. I was like, wow, that really was an answered prayer. I needed to get out of that job. I was completely miserable and I would not have left because I was not about self-care at that time that I teach now. I was really about taking care of others, and I didn't put myself first. That made me put myself first. It gave me the time, I had the energy, the desire to now put myself first, to find myself, to really reconnect myself and learn who I am and what I'm here for so I could best serve. So a lot of times we have to shift the way that we look at things. We have a kind of linear, logical way of seeing things. And if things don't happen in our life like that, we reject it.
Let me give you a scenario. I've never had a sponsor for the podcast. So everybody listening, right, you've never heard an ad from me ever. And I hate sponsorship ads in the middle of podcasts. It's like, NordVPN, get your VPN or, whatever. Trump's beef sticks, right? I remember I was listening to some show and it was totally like not in line with what was going on. So I have several businesses. Mm-hmm. And those businesses seem to keep requiring that I'm in them. And I'm like, like, team, handle the thing. And so all I want to do is I want to podcast and I want to play with my kids. That's the ideal. And I want to do jujitsu. I'm a jujitsu coach. I do it 6 times a week, right? It's a huge part of our life. Me and my wife both are coaches. And so I thought that I need to go get a sponsor so that I can just podcast and do jujitsu and play with my kids. And I'm either too fresh into the search, or I haven't given enough to it, or I'm either like thinking too much about how it's supposed to happen, and like that is the solution to getting me to do jujitsu and podcast and play with my kids, or maybe it's not the thing that I actually need, and I'm being too logical and linear about it, and that's actually standing in the way of the way that it's supposed to work. But I'll tell you, the alternative appears to be like my company's suffering. You know what I mean? It's working out to be a zero-sum game, right? I've either got to be like in the business all day, generating leads, doing my thing, doing sales, like running the ship, or be poor and podcast.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious, with your background in this manifesting world, there's a handful of things that I feel like I've manifested in this world, but I've also worked super hard for them, right? So number one is our house. Praise be, hallelujah. I love this house. I touch the walls sometimes and I'm like, yes, like I visualize myself here, but I work my ass off for it. I got on a wooden Wing Chun dummy, like a big wooden nice one that you see in the Ip Man movies. And that one was just like, I was like, wah, wah, wah. I was going through this exercise and I was just like visualizing me already having it. And it was like, I don't know how I'm going to have it. And then boom, money appeared. And I was like, oh, that's the money for the Wing Chun dummy. And I got it. This camera. Hello, camera. I love you, Lumix Panasonic camera, right? This feels like a manifested thing. And so, like, there are things that I've acquired
Yeah.
that feel like they were manifested, but I
Yeah.
also like, just
Yep.
was burning the midnight oil to make them happen. So, with all that as the background, coach me through this. Help me understand like what am
Yeah.
I doing wrong? Do I even need a podcast sponsor? Do I need to just take my hands off the wheel for a couple of days and just do nothing and just let it flow into my life? What are your thoughts?
Yeah. So, I have found that truthfully, the biggest breakthroughs always happen after some type of breakdown, some type of I just can't take it anymore, some type of, it's so easy to surrender when you are simply at your wits' end, right?
Yeah.
When you're not at your wits' end, you're still thinking logically. So you're not really in surrender mode.
So do I need to cry and go to the forest and freak
So
out?
I'm
Like,
not saying that you
I'm
need to
super
cry.
trying not to as
But what
well.
I'm saying is a lot of times our ego, our mind, we block it because we're still trying to control how it happens. And, usually when we are at our wits' end, we've given up control. Because we probably tried everything and we're like, you know what, nothing I'm doing is working. Forget it at this point. Right? So it's that energy though of really not intellectually saying that I'm gonna let it go, but actually really being able to surrender and be with this is what I want, this is what I truly desire. I am all the way open as to how that happens. I am releasing control over how I feel like this should happen. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't do anything, but what it does mean is this is the only thing that I know how to do now, so I will take action because even imperfect action, at least in that process, I'm learning. I'm getting closer to whatever it is, right, by taking action. But also is being flexible enough that if that doesn't work, keep going. Because most of us, what happens is we really don't achieve our goals and we don't achieve the things that we want because we give up before it can happen. I've heard people, well, I've been doing this for 6 months. Well, maybe you're supposed to be doing it for 7, right? You know what I mean? Well, it's been a year. Like, isn't that long enough? Maybe it's not long enough. Maybe it's supposed to be 2 years, right? And so the only thing that I can do is say, I can absolutely guarantee that you will not get what you want if you give up. You won't. But if you at least keep going, even if that's just somehow, some way that's going to work, and I have no idea how, and I'm open to it, then you're leaving that energy open to however it comes to you. I've had crazy things happen in ways that if I wasn't me, it would have never happened because I was just so open to it, where a lot of people would have been like, yo, that's crazy. I'm not doing that. And then completely missed the opportunity.
I've been stoically calm throughout the ups and downs of business. I lost a big client this morning, and I was really pretty cool about it. And I've been really, like I said, stoic.
Pretty cool on the outside, on the inside, or both?
I wear my emotions on my sleeves,
Okay.
so there's not a much of a difference. My wife is always like, "You're freaking out right now." I can tell, even if I'm like, "Oh yes, so stoic." Um, but no, I feel like everything's gonna work out just fine, and like we did everything that we could for the client, and it was fine. It was good. But the stress is still there.
Yeah.
It was a big client. It was a big
Yeah.
problem. Like to replace that revenue is like all of a sudden on my shoulders to be like,
Oh, I've been there. I know.
but it's like I just got to do it. It's like
I
it's.
mean, yeah.
But
And
I'm just
sometimes,
hearing you though. I'm thinking like maybe I need to go and like freak out. Maybe I'm holding on to the emotion and it's like really deep in there, and I got to let it go and surrender even harder to the things that
yeah.
I want. It sounds like that's your recommendation, your prescription.
Listen, the freak out is
Is the
it's a
freak out the
hard
key? Oh no.
it's a hard thing to be that vulnerable. You know what I mean? To really just freak out. I don't know what the hell I'm doing, and I don't know how I'm gonna pay my bills, and I don't know what's gonna happen. You know, like that's a real reality, and it's hard to be that vulnerable. And when you can really be that vulnerable, absolutely that's a breakthrough. Absolutely. There are times, listen, I have been completely up in my business. I mean, and people have seen me on TV. Literally all across America, all across the world, people have seen me on TV.
Little
And
did they
then,
know.
and then later or whatever, you know, I'm like, how am I going to pay my bills? It's a real thing. It's a real thing, especially in business, to be totally up one day and to be totally down the next. And, you know, those were always the times where it's like, okay, well, a pivot is supposed to happen. Something's going on here. So what do I have to do? What needs to happen? And sometimes it really is just surrendering into that moment, not trying to fight it, getting whatever the message is, because I'm trying to go, 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 go. And I really just need to slow down or stop.
Where can everyone find you?
You can find me online at avalaura.com. That is my hub, but I am all over social media. I'm Googleicious. So if you go to avalaura.com, you'll find all my social media links, and just connect with me on your favorite social media platform and reach out and say, hey, I saw you on this amazing podcast.
Thank you so much for coming on the show.
You're so welcome. Thank you.
This has been the Pulse Ox podcast. Please, if you found this episode valuable, give us a like on Spotify and share it with a friend.